Well, this man has been very busy the last couple of days. Of course, you saw, starting on Pablo Torre's show, how everything unfolded related to this collusion information. And he has been covering every aspect of it at Pro Football Talk. He is, of course, Mike Florio, and he is with us again this morning on GCR. Mike, appreciate it, man. I know you're a busy guy these last couple of days. Thanks for squeezing us in.
You know, it's funny. This is the slow time, supposedly.
Yeah.
This is our 6-week hiatus from my morning show, PFT Live. I find myself busier during the hiatus than I am when it's not the hiatus.
I want to cover a lot of this, but can I start micro and then go macro? Because, Mike, to me, what I think is most pressing in our city is now knowing what we know about how this went down with Lamar Jackson. My question becomes, next year, he's got a $75 million cap figure. The Ravens have to do something there. He has all of the leverage, knows that if he doesn't move his contract, they're screwed. And in 3 years, he can't even be tagged again. Why wouldn't Lamar Jackson be saying, hey, we're going to talk about a fully guaranteed contract again, because now you might have no choice?
Well, you're absolutely right. And even though the Ravens have in the existing Lamar Jackson contract the ability to restructure, to shrink that cap number, that just kicks the can and makes the cap number in future years bigger, and the ultimate cap number they'd have to take if and when he leaves the Ravens even more crippling. So there's still plenty of cap dollars from this current contract that need to be accounted for. They've already begun talking about a potential extension. And this, combined with the ruling in the collusion case and Lamar's role in that, his effort to get a fully guaranteed 5-year contract, turned down a couple of what would have been 3-year essentially guaranteed contracts before he signed the deal that he did. It does. It raises the stakes. And if Lamar's still playing at a high level, why wouldn't he say, I want a fully guaranteed contract?
I mean, clearly it mattered to him, right? And I don't know if that just mattered for him or if he felt like he was representing all of the players in that moment. I don't know where he was, but it clearly mattered. I don't know why it suddenly wouldn't matter. I would think that given what we've learned from this.
I think it's as simple as this, Glenn. I think it's as simple as this. Deshaun Watson got something that no one had ever gotten before. 5 years, $230 million, fully guaranteed. And I remember at the time saying, well, hell, if Deshaun Watson can get that, surely Lamar Jackson is worthy of that. Lamar Jackson's better than Deshaun Watson, and it might have been that simple. I'm better than this guy. I should get what he got. And here's the other reality, and this is why this entire episode is so strange to me. Because Deshaun Watson really is the outlier and the aberration in a bad way. You know, usually a true franchise quarterback, once that guy declares early in his career that he's a franchise guy, a short list, top 10, top 5 guy, he always stays there. He doesn't all of a sudden fall apart like Watson did. So you don't need to have a fully guaranteed contract if you're a franchise quarterback, because they're never going to cut you.
Right.
But Watson is the guy that if the Browns could cut him, he'd have been gone 2 years ago.
So does it matter? I guess, like, should it matter? Or should you just be willing to help out the team? Or should you be, you know, putting a stake in the ground and saying this is what we need to do as players, and so I'm going to be the guy to do it?
Well, and then the other reality that hovers over this, and it worked in a roundabout way to Lamar's advantage, sort of, with the contract that he got in 2023. Now, he got it 2 years later than he should have gotten his second contract, and one of the reasons he didn't get it is because of whatever miscommunications and gaps there were, broken phone or otherwise, between him and Eric DaCosta. But his unique negotiating style ultimately put the Ravens in a tough spot. And it might happen again, and that's what's so.
Yeah, what do you mean? His phone didn't work, Mike. I don't understand what you're talking about.
But that's what's so compelling about this, because every other player, there is a predictable rhythm and pattern to negotiating a contract. With Lamar, you have no idea what to expect, and I don't know that he's done it intentionally, but that's part of what the Ravens have to deal with, and it, I think, creates a ton of trepidation and uncertainty. Because, yes, he may be carrying the injury risk for a little bit longer. And, yes, he may not be getting a deal done when he should have gotten a deal done. But at the end of the day, you're going to be in checkmate. And the Ravens were in checkmate a couple of years ago, and they may find themselves in checkmate sooner than later. And it'll be interesting to see what, if any, lessons learned from the last time around can be engineered to get Lamar's deal done sooner than later. But I think they just need to go with him with a big offer and hope that he takes it. And that's the other thing that stunned me in this ruling. Eric DeCosta just assumed that he was moving on without Lamar Jackson, made a last-ditch offer before the 2023 draft, and he was surprised that Lamar took it.
Right. We've heard some stories about what direction they might have been headed in Baltimore. It's very fortunate that it worked out that way because there were a lot of rumors that Will Levis might have been the next quarterback of the Baltimore
Well, but
Ravens.
That's what they had to do. I mean, if this guy wants out, we got to have a plan at quarterback.
Right, but imagine what that would have been like. Mike Florio is with us. Mike, you pointed out, I know you wrote about it, like Justin Herbert is kind of on the clock now. Where do we go from here, right? Like, we learn all this information. It's a little funny to me because there's a party that says, right, they of course were colluding. We all saw that they were colluding. Why are we, pretending like this is news, but yet they didn't get in trouble for it? And, you have certainly side-eyed the ruling quite a bit, and for good reason. But what is the fallout now moving forward?
Well, that all depends. And I've heard from multiple people who interact regularly with players that multiple players have begun to explore what their options might be. And Herbert would be the perfect plaintiff moving forward. Now, whether that's against the league or against the union, that remains to be seen. And one of the weird things about this collusion ruling, it started as a case brought on behalf of Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, and Russell Wilson. At some point, it expanded to include 594 other players. I don't know whether or not one of those players was Justin Herbert. If so, the NFL would say, hey, you can't do anything, Justin. Your claim got included in the thing that was ruled upon, and the finding was that the owners didn't collude, even though I think that ruling is wrong. The problem is this. Justin Herbert never got a chance to engage in full discovery. That's the lawyer word for finding stuff out. What do your text messages say? What do your emails say? All we know is Dean Spanos, the owner of the Chargers, congratulated Michael Bidwell, the owner of the Cardinals, after Bidwell managed to keep Kyler Murray from getting a fully guaranteed contract. And Spanos said in the context of that conversation about Murray not getting a fully guaranteed contract, this helps us with our quarterback. We don't know what Dean Spanos may have turned around and texted to coach, GM, his sons who work for the team. We don't know whether or not there's a smoking gun in there that says something along the lines of, hey, the league doesn't want us doing fully guaranteed contracts, so we better set this Herbert thing up so we don't do a fully guaranteed contract because we don't want the league up our butts. We don't know that because that case wasn't fully developed. That's the problem with lumping 594 other players into this without fully developing their cases. We don't know what might be out there. So I think the league has potential exposure. I think the union has potential exposure. And the question becomes, how aggressively will the players pursue this? And, hey, now that the cat's out of the bag, these are things that the people who were hiding this ruling need to worry about.
Can we presume that the league would not be interested in going down that road and would attempt to, settle some? I don't even know what a settlement would look like in a case like this.
I think that the league would probably feel emboldened to fight and fight and fight some more. This is the second straight year that they've had a legal case that had billions of dollars at stake that they've found a way to avoid. Now, they still may get whacked in the Sunday ticket antitrust case, but they had a $14 billion plus billion, not million, plus liability that was wiped away with the stroke of a pen by a judge last summer. That's pending on appeal. But if this case had gone the other way, and I think it should have gone the other way, they basically were found to have their hand in the cookie jar, crumbs all over their shirt, a mouthful of cookies, and because the owners who testified in this hearing said to the arbitrator, we're not eating any cookies, he believed them.
Right.
So they got very lucky there, and I think they'll be inclined to keep fighting. It's just such a weird thing. We all know they collude.
Right.
They're not allowed to collude, and when we're faced with proof of collusion, people are just inclined to shrug.
Why is that, Mike? Why do every time you bring up the word, it's you got to be very careful saying that word. Like the definition of the word just includes it could just be it's done in secret and working together. Like why is it that we're so terrified of just saying, "Hey, this is collusion"?
Well, I don't know whether some things that went on with national politics a few years ago have caused people to not really understand what that word means or to associate it with something that is misguided or a conspiracy theory. All it means is coordination.
Right.
And the example that I've been trying to use with people is this. Do you think the CEO of Coke calls up the CEO of Pepsi and compares notes on what they're paying their key employees? Do you think they do that?
I don't think so.
Yeah, these are competitors. And see, this is where the whole concept of competition versus involvement in a league becomes, I think, blurred.
Mm-hmm.
The reality is this, and this goes back to a Supreme Court case from 2010. It's the American Needle case. And it's a huge case from the NFL's perspective because it stands for the idea that the 32 teams are independent businesses that cannot act together. They cannot come together under the umbrella of the league and violate the antitrust laws. And the reason that as to the players, they're allowed to have a draft and free agency and franchise tags and all the things that restrict player movement, they've all come together in what's called a multi-employer bargaining unit. So they get an antitrust exemption for that. But then once you have your CBA, you're supposed to compete. There are things within the confines of the CBA that you're not supposed to come together and collude upon. And one of them is, hey, guaranteed contracts are available to players. If I want to give somebody a guaranteed contract, I give them a guaranteed contract. And I don't care if it impacts one of my competitors. Tough crap.
Right.
Deal with it. I'm doing what's right for me. You do what's right for you. The idea that business and sports competitors are comparing notes on what they're going to pay key employees is collusion on its face. But, yeah, we just expect them to do it. That's where this great disconnect is. We expect them to do it, but they shouldn't be doing it.
Well, and it's to your point, the existence of the council itself is kind of proof. Like they are legitimately working together, and a guy who works for all of them is in charge, who has to, go get the opinions of every single one of them. Like that in and of itself is kind of the definition of collusion.
And there's a passage in the 61-page document where John Mara, who's the head of the Management Council Executive Committee and has been for years, says, well, I would never pretend to tell the Cowboys how to go about doing business. I would never, these are my competitors. Then why are you there?
Right.
Why do you have a management council?
Right.
Why is there a process in place to herd 32 cats? Because that's what they're doing.
Yep.
And the idea that days after Deshaun Watson gets a fully guaranteed contract, just days after that, and the league is on fire with this idea that the Browns crossed this threshold and gave Deshaun Watson a 5-year fully guaranteed contract. They have a meeting in Palm Beach, and they make a presentation to the owners and other officials from the teams that we have to restrict guarantees in these contracts. And that is established that it happened. The arbitrator found that it happened. How in the hell does that result in a finding by the arbitrator? We think the teams didn't comply. We think the teams didn't do what they were told to do. And then when you look at the contracts one after another, right, first one up, Kyler Murray, not fully guaranteed.
Yep.
Russell Wilson, not fully guaranteed. Lamar Jackson, not fully guaranteed.
And now it's
they held
broken.
the tightly enough to keep it from spreading.
It's broken, 100%. Mike, we could probably talk about this topic for hours, but I know you need to talk about it in like 75 other places. In the meantime, of course, everybody also knows you're an author, and a really unique opportunity right now for people to pick up the books at a very favorable price.
99-cent ebooks, Father of Mine, Son of Mine, great summer reads. They are priced to encourage people to read them. You will enjoy them. I guarantee it. I will send you $1 in the mail if you buy it for 99 cents and you don't like it. So you can actually make a penny on this offer. But I will insist that you convince me that you read it.
Oh.
You have to read it and say, I don't like it, before you'll get the $1 back. And I know when people have read it and when they haven't. I know.
So like a little like maybe mini book report of some sort?
Yes.
Like,
yes.
Okay.
Cliff notes.
I appreciate that.
You convince me you read it, and then if you truly didn't like it, I'll send you $1.
Well, look at that. You can't beat that with a stick. I would get on that immediately. Mike, everybody knows where to find you. Pro Football Talk, profootballtalk.com. Always appreciate you taking the time for us. Thanks so much for hopping on. We'll talk again real soon, all right?
Thanks, pal. See you.